Hey everyone! I'd like to take some time to go over Week 4 learning resources and assignments. You will have 2 discussions and your group family therapy theory grid due by the end of Week 4. I'll go over both discussions and the grids within this video. First, let's review the learning resources. You have 2 required articles this week and a chapter from the Nichols book. We will begin our look into specific theory for family therapy. This week we will focus on Bowen family systems theory and genograms. I'm sure many of you have heard of genograms or have some experience with them. They're a great way to map out dynamics within the family, can be used for assessment purposes and sometimes even intervention purposes. So within Bowen family systems theory, you'll see that Bowen highlights different concepts which describe how dysfunction in individuals within the system may contribute to dysfunction within the system of the family. He discusses the idea that if individuals can take charge of their own lives, they will be more functional individuals within the family. Some of the intervention might include asking some insight-provoking questions to help gain that insight into themselves. Therapy within Bowen theory is focused on helping individuals learn about themselves and their identity within the family as well. So, as I said, the therapist's role is really to help them to gain insight and to work towards solving their own problems rather than directly intervening with the conflict. Basically the concept is that if each individual is healthy, then they'll manage their conflict in healthier ways, and that might happen naturally. Genograms are a huge part of the assessment process within this theory. You'll see that there are a variety of resources this week to learn more about genograms. Please be sure to look at the required resource here, which shows standard symbols for genograms. In addition, the How to Make a Genogram video in the media section will give you a clear and practical guide. These are things that you will definitely be utilizing later on when you create a genogram for your papers. So then, in addition to the required readings, I'd like you to choose 2 of these readings as well to further your understanding of the theoretical concepts. In addition to the readings, you'll see that there are 2 required videos. One is the genogram video I referenced earlier. The other is the Legacy of Unresolved Loss video, in which you'll see a simulation of family therapy in action. I always find these kinds of videos extremely helpful, as it can really bring our learning of theory to life. Please make sure to watch the video in its entirety. One of your discussions this week will be focused on it. Your first discussion this week will be related to Bowen theory. You will identify the 2 articles you chose to read from the optional section in the learning resources and provide 2 takeaways from one of those articles. Please be sure to list the articles that you read and specifically the article that you're listing the takeaways from. I would like you to identify takeaways in terms of how these articles helped you expand your knowledge following the chapter in the Nichols book. The Nichols book, it really gives you a good overview of Bowen theory, but a lot of the articles are kind of expanding a little bit more on that. And then the second part of the initial post will be focused on the case of Anita. You will first be identifying assessment techniques within Bowen theory that can provide some explanation of Anita's difficulty in parenting. In addition, I'd like you to identify at least one intervention based on your assessment. Although there may be a variety of ideas you might have in terms of intervention, please be sure to state an intervention which relates to Bowen theory, as that's the theory that we've been learning about this week and focusing on. You will be required to have a response post to this discussion, so please respond to at least one classmate. Your second discussion this week is focused on the video. You will be required to answer all 3 of these questions. Because you are going to be identifying different concepts within the video which relate to Bowen theory, I would recommend at least reading the chapter in the Nichols book prior to watching the video. It'll just kind of help you pull some of these things out. And also notice that the second question is a 2-part question. I'd like you to identify one of the triangles that you notice within this video, as well as identify how you would intervene. And then for this discussion, you will not be required to post a response. However, as mentioned previous weeks, I think it would be helpful to your learning to at least read a couple of your classmates' posts. Lastly, I would like to describe the group family therapy theory grid, which is due on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. You will be working as a group to fill out the first section of this template for week 4. You are part of a group of 4 to 5 other students which have already been assigned. You can view them if you click on People and then Groups in Canvas. I have also listed them within the announcements. These will be your groups for the assignment for the remainder of the course. The purpose of the assignment is to ensure your understanding of the theory and possibly use this moving forward to differentiate the different theories. You can see here you will be describing at least 4 ideas within the theory under the core concepts. The ideas of the theory may be the overall basis of the theory or the goal of the theory. This section is different than interventions. Sometimes it's hard to kind of differentiate between core concepts and interventions. And then interventions are what you will be describing next. You will then identify 4 interventions within the theory. An intervention would be some specific strategies carried out by the worker within this theory. Lastly, you will give a brief description of whether or not this theory could be effective with a variety of different cultures. And although this is in grid format, I would also like you to use appropriate citations and references throughout your writing. In terms of the division of work, it will be necessary to communicate with your group to divide everything equally. You can divide it however you see fit. I know that you have larger groups than just 3 people, so it's not necessarily a clear-cut divide, but I hope that you can come up with something that works for your group. I would suggest rotating throughout the weeks to make sure you're not only working on one consistent section in the grid. This will just help to kind of further your knowledge and make sure that you're at least once throughout the weeks focusing on the cross-cultural considerations. When completed, you'll then choose one group member to upload for grading. So that is what we have for week 4. As usual, reach out with any questions. I'm here to help, and I hope everyone has a great week.